Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. And also, the Search for the Ancient Bauble Kickstarter has launched, so make sure you go check that out. The Kickstarter campaign will last for 30 days, and after that, the playmat will no longer be available for purchase. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So, yesterday, Wizards had a Twitch stream in which they introduced the Wizards Summer of Legend. And with that introduction, they had some far too early spoilers from us from some upcoming sets. That includes a brand new 5-color Dragon Tribal Commander with Tiamat. So if you're a Dragon Tribal fan, I bet you can't wait for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms to come out. And if you haven't seen that episode, make sure you do check that one out, but please wait until this one is over, because it would be very rude for you to leave me right now. And I'd be sad. Anyways, to not make me sad, stick around for this episode on a sword that wins the game. Vorpal Sword was another one of the far too early spoilers from that set as well. And let me tell you, like Tiamat, it does not disappoint. So with all that said, let's jump into it. So Vorpal Sword is an equipment that costs a black, and it costs black to equip. It gives equipped creature +2/+0 and Death Touch. Now that's already really great, but you ain't seen nothing yet. It also has pay 5 black until end of turn. Vorpal Sword gains whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So yeah, that's a thing. Essentially, you can now give any one of your creatures that you attach this to Phage's ability. Well, okay, I should say temporarily. But still, turning any one of your creatures into Phage on hit is incredible. So this is not only a low to the ground effective equipment early, but it's a game ender late. Once you've got 8 mana, your opponents better be wary or they're going to be in trouble. And of course, there are plenty of creatures out there, including commanders with some fantastic forms of evasion and some that can't even be blocked. So good luck stopping them when they've got this new fantastic weapon in their arsenal. So let's jump in and talk about some commanders that can really utilize the Vorpal Sword to finish off your opponents. First up, let's talk about Etrata the Silencer, who's definitely got a name that very much suits the use of the Vorpal Sword. She's a 3/5 vampire assassin that can't be blocked, and she costs 2 blue-black. She has, whenever she deals combat damage to a player, exile target creature that player controls and put a hit counter on that card. That player loses the game if they own 3 or more exiled cards with hit counters on them. Etrata's owner shuffles Etrata into their library. So Etrata is already about getting through and winning the game in an alternative way. And of course, there are plenty of ways that you can win with Etrata and her trigger. Vorpal Sword is very much a shortcut. And a fantastic shortcut at that. Etrata just straight up can't be blocked, which is the best thing that you can possibly have for a creature wielding the Vorpal Sword. So as long as you've got the mana for it, Etrata can essentially silence any of your opponents. Now, a quick rules thing before I move on from Etrata. I believe this is correct, but please let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. Now, Etrata's actual combat damage trigger can be a problem. Normally, on a hit, you would have to shuffle her into your library or put her back in your command zone or have a way to blink her, etc., etc., etc. But in this case with the Vorpal Sword, it really isn't. Because if I'm thinking this through correctly, essentially you could stack the triggers however you would like. So you simply stack things so that the Vorpal Sword trigger goes off first. Because of that, the player loses the game before Etrata's actual trigger goes off. Since that player is, well, dead, you can't target a creature that they, well, don't control. So Etrata's own combat trigger fizzles, and she stays on the board with Vorpal Sword still attached. Or at least, again, that's how I believe that it works, so again, please let me know in the comments below if I am incorrect and correct me. Regardless, another fantastic commander for the Vorpal Sword is Chromium the Mutable. Chromium the Mutable is a 7/7 Elder Dragon with Flash, it can't be countered, and it's got flying. It also says discard a card until end of turn. It becomes a human with base power and toughness 1/1, loses all abilities and gains hexproof. It can't be blocked this turn. So, first off, yeah, this does a lot of things and all of them are fantastic. Most of the time, you will be able to get Chromium the Mutable through without having to discard a card. A creature with flying generally can get through on most of your opponents. But if you've got a pesky opponent that has a flyer, well, too bad for them. You simply discard a card and Chromium the Mutable might shrink into just a 1/1, but its power and toughness don't matter. And at that point, it's going to be nearly impossible to deal with because it's got hexproof and it can't be blocked. So it basically starts off as a giant elder dragon carrying this sword that is far too tiny for it, and then it turns into a human with a regular sized sword for it, and then it kills your opponents in one hit. So it's flavorful, funny, and effective. Yet another fantastic unblockable commander for the Vorpal Sword is Ukima Stalking Shadow, a partner commander. It's a 2/2 that can't be blocked, and when it leaves the battlefield, it deals X damage to target player, and you gain X life where X is its power. Now, obviously, with its partner Kazor Rip the Stalker, you can do a lot of powerful things, but again, just giving this a Vorpal Sword and having the mana to activate it is even more deadly. Again, this is a low-to-the-ground commander that can't be blocked, so yeah, it can really use that efficiently. And since Kazur gives you access to green, you can easily get up to the 8 mana and then take out your opponents one by one. So yeah, equip your Whale Wolf with this one-shot sword. Magic is getting really weird, everyone. Anyways, next up let's talk about a commander that's not quite unblockable, but it pretty much is. Kalran Way Commander is simply a 3/3 with Horsemanship, and when it comes into play, you lose 3 life. Now, Horsemanship is a very, very, very old keyword. Essentially, it means that this creature can't be blocked except by creatures with Horsemanship. And guess what? No one plays creatures with Horsemanship. Well, I guess except for you, seeing as this would be your commander. Anyways, this is essentially unblockable. So yeah, if you're one of the very few people that's running a Kalran deck, congratulations, you've got yourself a fantastic win condition. Or at least I should say congratulations to any of the commanders that have Horsemanship that can run Vorpal Sword. Regardless, next up let's move on to Rakdos the Showstopper, which might not have Horsemanship, but he does have Flample. Or for those of you not versed in Magic slang, what I mean is flying and trample. So Rakdos is a 6/6 with Flample, and when it enters the battlefield, flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, devil, or imp. Destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. So Rakdos is fantastic with Vorpal Sword for a lot of reasons. First up, his Random Wrath ETB can essentially help you clear, well, probably about half the field. And then, after the dust settles, you've got a Flying and Trample commander, which works amazingly with an equipment that gives Death Touch. So, with Vorpal Sword attached, Rakdos becomes an 8/6 with Flample and Death Touch. And Death Touch and Trample work really well together. Essentially, thanks to Death Touch, you only have to assign 1 combat damage to kill any creature. And with Trample, you're able to get damage through. So your opponent will basically have to block Rakdos with 8 creatures to stop any kind of damage from getting through. And because Rakdos has flying, good luck having 8 flyers on the board to do that. And again, all of this is after that Random Wrath effect that probably wiped out half their board. So yeah, Rakdos might want to put down that Fire Scythe kind of thingy that he's holding and hold up the Vorpal Sword for just a bit. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, even a commander that just has flying can usually get the job done with the Vorpal Sword. So a commander such as Drana Calastria Bloodchief can use it as well. Drana is a 4/4 flyer that has pay X black. Target creature gets -0/-X until end of turn, and Drana gets +X+0 until end of turn. So Drana decks generally want to generate an absurd amount of mana. So paying the 8 mana for the Vorpal Sword is going to be no big deal. And also, Drana's own ability can help you clear the way, and if you can give her Trample, yeah, it's not going to be hard. Next up, let's talk about a flying commander that deals with artifacts with Alayla Artful Provocateur. Alayla is a 2/3 fairy warlock with flying, death touch, and lifelink, and other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. And whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. So yeah, now your 1 mana Vorpal Sword makes you a fairy that can carry that Vorpal Sword and take out your opponents. Quite efficient and effective, and you don't even have to put your commander in harm's way to do it. And speaking of that, let's talk about Kalia of the Vast. Kalia is a 2/2 flying human cleric that says when she attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking that opponent. So essentially, she can get out a lot of those types of creatures very quickly. And many of the creatures that she's going to get out have flying and all sorts of things as well. So yeah, you can basically just call down some angels, dragons, and demons, hand one of them that sword, and they can do the dirty work for you. Now, I could just keep going on and on listing more and more commanders that have some form of evasion like Rankle Master of Pranks, but I'm not going to do that to you. Basically, just know that Vorpal Sword is a fantastic piece of equipment. It can come down early and be incredibly effective early on in the game. And then later in the game, it's a fantastic finisher. So yeah, if you've got a commander that's got some form of evasion and its color identity includes black, make sure you are considering it. But there are definitely other commanders that should be considering it as well. So you can thank Eddie for pointing out to me that first strike commanders can work fantastically with this sword as well. Andrana Liberator Malakir works doubly well because it has flying and first strike. Now, I did mention earlier that Death Touch works fantastically with Trample, but Death Touch is also amazing with first strike. Essentially, it just means that your creature is probably not going to die in combat ever. It only takes 1 point of damage for them to kill a creature, and since they hit that creature first, that creature's going to be dead. Now, obviously there are exceptions, like if you're going up against a creature that has Indestructible or also has first strike, etc, etc. But still, this low-to-the-ground equipment that grants Death Touch and can be very effective early can really help these types of commanders out. And again, later in the game, it's a fantastic way to finish opponents off. So again, first strike and double strike commanders should be considering it as well. So again, if you're one of the 20 players according to DHREC that has a Mirror the Curse deck, congratulations, another thing to add to it. Or how about Alessia who smiles at death? It protects her in combat and then also helps you win the game too. Or even Neheb. Okay, no, not that one that you're thinking of. Or the other one. This one. It's finally time for Neheb the Worthy to shine. So Neheb, throw down your fiery lance and take up the Vorpal Sword. Or, hand the Vorpal Sword to the lovely Snapdax with double strike. Regardless, like I mentioned with flying, I'm definitely not going to go through every single commander out there that's got first strike or double strike because I'd be here for far too long doing that. And with all that said, it's time for me to give you my final thoughts on this piece of equipment. I really like the design of Vorpal Sword. It has early game utility that can be very impactful in a lot of decks. And then later on in the game, this is a game-ending presence that can make your opponent shake in their boots. There are plenty of commanders out there that can utilize this card for one reason or another. And essentially being able to turn your commander into Phage is pretty fantastic. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.